Sorry about that being the first sound you hear from you guys. Hey. Just let me. Thank you for the resub, Vape. If you would like any alerts replayed, just let me know. You can always type in the command !witness. That will get my attention. That'll be my cue to replay that alert. And that goes for anybody and everybody. I appreciate the resub and the everything like that. I just realized that you're halfway there to getting another free model out of me. So I'm going to have to get to working on that eventually. I have other stuff to take care of as well. I have other people's models to assemble as well. So, first and foremost, everyone, thank you for joining me today in the mech shop. I'll probably have to go get a drink of water at some point because I forgot to pack in a bottle of water for me to drink with in here. And that's okay, because I will get that figured out. Thank you for the promo link there, Kim. I greatly appreciate it. So what I'm doing actually right now is I want to do this to try to get this fixed out before I was streaming, and obviously the timing on that fell through, and that is okay because this won't take me too long. All I'm doing is doing minor-ish touch-ups, minor-ish follow-up on another commission. This is the one that has the variety of models. So I'm actually trying to do just that right now. I'm trying to get trying to do the eyes for her. She is this lovely, lovely dryad. I so need to invest in better lighting. Let me see if I can actually zoom in close enough. And then zoom back out, so that way you guys aren't like, the head pain. Anyways, trying to get a nice sky blue, which, actually, now that I think about it, I'm actually getting close to right now. I did not want it to be glacial blue because that was one of the options that I posited to my patron. They were like, "Nah, do sky blue." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm trying to make sure it's a nice soft blue. And when I gave him the option of like, do you want like how would you like the eyes? Do you want them to be like otherworldly? Do you want to be more human-like? Do you want to be more otherworldly? They said, oh, go otherworldly and do specifically. I like when I said otherworldly, like glowing or like just a solid color, and they said do like a glow effect. So I'm gonna have to work on it in a minute. But for the time being, I just want to clean up their base a little bit. Did this morning. And then I can kind of move off to the side with it. Alright. I'll get back to her later. From a distance, she reads very well, in my opinion. So. Alright, so. As discussed, as alluded to, this is Terrain Thursday, as usual. Now, obviously, these are not terrain pieces. These are people. Okay, semi-obviously, because it's kind of hard to tell from a distance. But here's the thing. They are being used as background set material for a race car track. So, as such, they kind of are terrain, just by a different metric, by a slightly different metric. So that's my excuse. That's what I'm going to run with. Also, I did not plot out my time yesterday well enough to get to working on them like I wanted to. So as a result, I basically was like, okay, I didn't do the 15 I wanted done yesterday, which is these 15 I've selected out right here. But so I don't fall behind further, I have another 15 lined up over there, making for a total of 30 pedestrians, 30 spectators to be working on, for better and for worse. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just sort of grabbing different paints to do different stages of them. So each of these models has a hot dog. Each of these 5 right here have a hot dog and a beverage in hand. So for previous tracks, I've got a color sorted out for hot dog, both the bun and the meat, or what passes for meat. I've got, let's go with Trader Green. I haven't done that too often. Also with that one. Yeah, that should read that well. That should read okay. I also have colors out. So I also have for their beverages, I typically go with what I consider stadium red, because I always vaguely remember concession stands at baseball games, at like the Silver Dome, or maybe Pine Dome, I don't remember exactly. But either way, any of those basically having like a very generic, bland, like red or yellow color to them. So I'm like, okay, let me go with red or yellow for like snacks boxes, which are either chocolates or popcorn. I think I've done red is for chocolate boxes, yellow is for popcorn, and then I kind of follow up with that. But with the beverages, I decided let's just go with red, because it could be a Dixie cup for all that matters. But it's just that very simple red wax container, beverage container. I had so part of my delay from earlier, it has to do with the fact that I was a bit of a dip, in that I had made a slight boo-boo in copying the link over. What I did is I normally copy a link for whenever I go live, so no problem there, no big deal. But what ended up happening is there we go. But what happened is I had then gone to and copied something else, because I was like, oh, I posted a question in a Discord about, is it okay if I post up links or post up my live notifications as a question? And I made the boo-boo. I was like, oh, let me put it over here. So I copied and put it over, and then I realized, oh crap, that means I don't have that link copied anymore. But I figured it out. I figured out a solution. You may have caught, if you were in here in chat earlier, I said I figured out a solution, not the actual solution. The actual solution should be, I can just click on something that says, share your link, or copy my link, or click on something that says, like, oh, we want to edit this, so here's where your new link is going to be. Instead, I had to basically go in, find my own text, copy it, add a hypertext link in there, and go from that. So, again, a solution, not the actual solution. just a little bit of a complaint. Goal for today, like I said, I've got 30 models I want to work on. I want to try and get them done up. For this commission, they are deliberately very crude and very basic. So we're not talking any intentional highlights. We're not talking about too much precision. I'm going to still try and be clean as best I can, just because I don't want to have to redo any of these guys. And I don't want to have to like redo any steps necessarily. But for the most part, it's just going to be like a boom, here's a color, boom, here's a color, you know. And in the past, what I've done is I usually get like a whole bunch of models airbrushed. I have airbrushed these guys already, so they all have a skin tone. But what I've done in the past is I'll like airbrush on like pants colors, or like shirt colors, or whatever. Like one color to be consistent amongst every model out of like a selection. Not doing it this time because it's a bit of a hassle having to like cover up so much and having to cover up again. So just like, let me just do it this way and see how well it works out. So far it's okay. It's just a matter of me committing time, motivating myself and committing time to do this. And in that regards, I appreciate and thank you guys very much, because by popping in and be like, I'm going to do this on stream, you kind of help me get motivated to do this. So thank you. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate my mods, Kim being currently one of them. So yeah. And to better explain a little bit of the title on the what's going on. So let's start with the more humorous one first. Pray for Mojo is one of my favorite jokes from the is one of the more memorable jokes, therefore technically one of my favorite ones. But not like the favorite. I always, those fluctuates way too much for me to be consistent. But I forget exactly under what circumstance how it happened, but Homer got a monkey, and the two just sort of partied it up, and you know, the monkey was this bright lab animal that's now just like in horrible shape. And so rather than like having to take it to the vet or anything, he just sort of dumped it back at the lab. And they're like, "My God, Mojo, what happened to you? Speak, Mojo!" And he brings over this little typewriter, this type keyboard set that has like a little speaker on it. So the monkey types in there, and then it goes, "Pray for Mojo," because he's just like, you know, the joke is, of course, he's in terrible health and he needs help. So just like, is he within saving? It's kind of a dark humor when you think about it, especially when I say it the way I did. Goodness. But it was still one of those ones where this is one of those situations where I'm like, yeah, it's kind of warranted. So, so the other explanation is, I mentioned the goal. This is that commission where I believe I mentioned it yesterday, where they said, hey, we'd like you to do, 200-ish models. So here's these 2 tubs of guys. And I agreed to it, and they were informed that, these are the conditions in which, if it's past 200, like I said 250, but if it's past that number, these are the conditions on which we will be operating on a professional level. It was a very awkward conversation for me, not because they made it awkward. They only made it awkward because they're such good people. They are such good, they're hard workers, they're professionals, and they continue to work with me. They listen to me, they're very accommodating. So when I'm trying to assert my own well-being into the equation, as it were. It's very hard, especially when I have a long history of not doing that. So I'm the one who made it awkward. They only made it worse because they're so cool, as it were. So nothing but praise for them. Check them out, especially if you have a few $1,000s to spend on a racetrack. Anyways, so when I got home and I did the inventory and I came back with a model count of not 200, not 250, not 300, 480. Technically it's 494, but those 14 are damaged, so they're going to be reprinting those. Now, whether they were going to basically go like, here, work on those guys as well, that is a slightly different matter. But, we've communicated, and so we're all on the same page. So here I am working on them. No problem. Yes, I am putting the paints away, even though I might end up reusing them, and that's only just because I want to be able to clear out the space and have that sense of accomplishment as I'm going. So, anyways, but, so I was trying to I know there was something else I wanted to say that was positive, but it was eluding me. I've remembered it. Let me finish out some of the thoughts here. So, I'm working on these guys. I'm going to be doing the goal of 15 a day, alongside my other commissions, with the intention of trying to wrap up the other commissions so I can dedicate more time to these guys. Because, hey, if I overreach my goal a little bit and I get them done sooner, all the great. Because I can then sit back and relax a little bit more. I can deliver these guys to them. They'll have more time to work with them in the placement on the track. If there's any adjustments that need to be made, we can discuss it and work with it then. Preferably there isn't any, but we'll see about that. And that's not a slight against them, that's just facts. So the next color I'm trying to figure out, so these are going to be shirt colors. I'm going to be setting up in a moment hair colors. So I'm a sucker for redheads, so I usually include at least one redhead in a group. And also it's a good color diversity, let's be blunt. Older man, let's go with very light brown. And let's go with a more medium brown. Now, sometimes I will double up on colors. I try not to do exact copies and just do these 5 are all the exact same colors. That's way, way boring. Although it would be funny to maybe do that one day. Just to kind of mess with everybody, myself included. In any case, so I've not forgotten the positive news I want to share. The positive news is that I am almost done with one of my commissions. Now what I mean by almost done is that the Crix model I was working on yesterday, I continued working on after I logged off, after we raided and I logged off from streaming. I continue working on it a little later than I intended, and that's okay. That's only just because I kept getting into a late start about it. But pretty much got everything approved by the patron, did more work on it, and now that model, as well as the rest of that commission, the other 2 Crix heavy warjacks, all 3 of them have got 2 layers of clear coat. I applied the other layer about maybe an hour and a half ago ish. I took a nap in the middle of the day, so my day is kind of thrown off. A little bit of a loop. Another reason why I'm like starting so late on my stream. But yeah, so with that, I have like obviously the one less commission to worry about. All I got to do now is apply the last layer clear coat. One of the models, the Leviathan that I was working on, it's very much standing on a beach or other kind of like shallow water area, like a sandbar of some sort, perhaps. So what I got to do is, after I got the last layer clear coat applied, which I might be able to do tonight before I go to bed, I'm going to, or after that, I'm going to then apply Realistic Water. It is a product that, it's a viscous, fluid material that, once it dries and cures, it kind of helps simulate water, but in a static sense. So it doesn't like flow everywhere. It mixes well with paints. So the plan is to tint it a little bit of a blue, and apply that to the base in strategic patches. So then it'll be rehearsal drive home. Okay. Take care. And safe travels. Thank you for stopping in. And thank you for the lurking earlier too, as well as the commands. Again, I've tried to be appreciative of my mods and my audience. But anyway, so yeah. But yeah, so once that's cured up, I will be able to get the Leviathan, as well as the rest of them, if I didn't do them earlier, photographed for my portfolio, which is, I've been trying to get into the habit of making that the last step for all my commissions. And then with that, they'll be done. That patron's already paid in full, which is great. Okay. Your predicted text was trying to be fancy or attention-seeking, is my guess. Anyways. So yeah. And then I could deliver them to my patron on Saturday, because I'll get a chance to meet up with them then, due to other previous scheduling. So that will be the greatness. I don't know. I'm pretty certain they probably figured it out. But hey, no worries there. Progress on the Wild Keep, because I know Vaith, you're in here, so might as well bring it up. I've got I've used a series of different spray paints to achieve a number of base colors, as well as some rudimentary highlighting to it. So the intention is that I'm going to try to do like some more finer dry brushing and other highlights and everything to it, as well as some washes and inks. But I'm probably going to have to do those off stream. I'm also going to have to figure out when, like the most appropriate time. I think the challenge is that not because of slot mods, I will squeeze that in where I can to get everything taken care of. But I think once I get the other commission taken care of, that's the sundry ones, I'll be able to dedicate much more time to that. The other commission, because you'll notice that would bring me down to 3. That'd be the slot mods, the Wild Keep, and then the 2 monsters, like really big monster models. Those ones are from the same patron as the Wild Keep, so, and they came in much later. So it's one of those, like, there's the understanding, like Vati. I think you made it clear that there's no rush on those ones. So I will, have them in the back of my mind working on them. But I know that I'm not going to halt progress on the Keep to work on them. As for the Keep itself, I have done actually more prep work for it than I'm probably acknowledging. Specifically, so I got all the highlights. I got the base colors taken care of. I don't know if I specified it to everybody online, like up front already. It is assembled. At this point, if I get off my tuchus, I might even post on Instagram more progress pics of where it is at this stage. Or like leading up to the stage where it's at. If nothing else, just so I can clear out pictures on my phone. But yeah, so speaking of Instagram, there is obviously the link that popped up thanks to my bots. But I had a very interesting encounter that was also consuming some of my time before stream. And what that was is I got a Instagram message from a follower as well as somebody who I've been following. And I've been following them for a few years, so I'm like, okay. And they asked me, hey, can I send you a link that you then copy and send back to me or whatever? And I'm like, well, this sounds suspicious as heck. So I just bluntly asked why. Because I figured, okay, if it's a bot, maybe it'll come up with an answer. But, or it might just repeat itself or just won't respond. There was a response. They explained that, hey, I got a new phone, but I can't log into my Instagram for some reason with it. So I contacted like the help desk and they said, this is what you need to do. And so I was like, oh, this is incredibly suspicious. Because either this is the hacker. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this account's been hacked. I ain't opened up a link or not. But I asked a silly question. Like, in hindsight, a silly question, but I figured it would eliminate one possibility, which was if it was a bot of some sort. So I asked, can you verify that you're not a bot? That you are a person and not a elaborate bot? And they were like, it's all under control. And I'm like, everything is in control. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's kind of a bad answer on my part. Kind of a bad question, kind of a bad phrasing and things, but I'm like, yeah, I ain't trusting this one. So, I mean, I told them the truth. I'm just too busy right now. So, yeah. So they haven't messaged back. But yeah, so I was like, whatever. Hopefully it's all on the up and up. They find somebody to help them out and it gets taken care of without any controversy. I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm just like, yeah, no, I ain't trusting You know, I haven't gotten any. We haven't communicated at all up to this point in life, other than, or at least that I can remember, other than, you know, I followed you, you followed me, and that was about it. And now all of a sudden, I'm the person you're turning to for help, like basically a borderline stranger. Only that because I just don't remember the person in real life, if at all. And it's for something as dangerous as, here's a link, trust me. Yeah, it's like, no. No. So either it's legit, and I inconvenienced them, and hopefully it's just an inconvenience. They get it figured out, and they're all good. Or they're hackers, in which case they're slightly dumb. Because, like, what information you can get off of me from a hack? Okay, there's plenty you could probably get off of me, but nothing so cool that, you know, it's actually worth the getting caught. Trying to clean out the pots as I'm coming across, like dried out paint and everything. All right. Yeah, I think I'm coming up to the point where I'm going to be switching over to finer brushes, or rather the finer brush, because I'm pretty much for this commission, I'm pretty much just using two different size brushes. This broader brush, there's a little bit of orange on his face. Let me get that paint out and at the ready. I don't like using Vallejo paints for other than airbrushing. But that's because that's pretty much what it was mostly made for. It was mostly like airbrushing and maybe, you know, like old school model work. Old school model work is where you have like this very, to my understanding, old hobby paints are basically operating on the basis of like, let's have a very thick pigmented paint you have to water down to thin it out so you can actually work with it. But a lot of miniature paints nowadays, you don't have to do that as much. They're already reasonably thinned, so they flow very well. They're expensive for compared to size-wise, because I mean, like, each of these ones are like $4. This pot's like $4. This craft paint was, I think, maybe $2. And you can see the difference in how much you're getting. And I actually have my brother. He uses a lot of craft paints in his stuff. Granted, he has commented that he has to do a lot of, like, you know, either repainting or whatever to get, like, doing multiple layers and everything. That's the trick, is that when you have thicker paints, you have to do multiple layers, because you tend to see the brush strokes too much, and you can't always get away with doing that when it comes to a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm doing the shoes first, which is just, again, a simple brown. They said just do, for bases, for the standees, just do a simple gray. So that's why I have that dark gray out. Because I'm just be like, oh wait, I don't have to use one of my more expensive model paints to do this. I can use this, it'll do the same trick. eh. And it's one of those ones where it's like the person who I've talked to in the past about like when working on these is like they have to pass well enough. You don't have to be as excruciating on the detail as you would like a miniature in a miniature game. Because I mean, like when I get to the eyes, these guys are just going to have creepy black doll eyes. You know, it's just going to be a little black dot, and that's it. And that's because they are not the focus of the piece. The buildings are tangentially the focus of the piece. You know, the buildings and all the other terrain and everything else there. Because the majority of this is going to be the, what's it called? The cars themselves, the track. So that functionality there is what's going to trump everything else. So I'm like actually looking at like, okay, do I really need to clean up the under the hand that I got paint all over just now? So actually right now I'm thinking to myself like, boy, I started with the more difficult. I mean, as is my way. So my way seems to consist of finding a solution to a problem that's not the actual solution, but it still solves the problem. It just is like, oh, I didn't realize that was the way. Don't do that again. You know. I was like, but it worked. As well as, I had another point. I can't remember now what it was now, because it was talking about, you know, covering up, doing the painting and other stuff, and I don't know. I ain't gonna worry about it. Oh, I remember now. And that is the other thing I like to do, and this is partly by my choice, but it's also certainly my way of things. And that is, when I have a list of tasks to do, start with the hardest, most time-consuming, difficult ones first. Because then, it's all easy after that. So, yeah, that's my way, where it's just like, okay, well, let me start with the ones that's going to take extra long because there's extra steps, and the steps being like, okay, gotta do this object in this hand, gotta do this object in this hand, and then move on. Because even when it's like spectators that have like cameras or like video, like camcorders or whatever, they're holding it up to their face, so you can't see their eyes. So I don't have to worry about like painting their eyes. So instead, I just basically replace it with a different color. So in that case, it's the same steps, just slightly different. Just one is kind of a fine word replace. Oh, but yeah, so beverages. Typically, I know that they would have, at the stadiums, they would typically have, like, most likely they'd have Coca-Cola, because it's a very American kind of thing. Actually, it's a very not only very American, but it's very international. Coca-Cola is much more international than Pepsi. Kind of sad to say. I mean, let's be blunt. I like both the beverages, but they are ostensibly both like okay. Coca-Cola has at least the history of it being, as far as I can remember. I haven't really looked at the history of Pepsi, but Coca-Cola at least has the history of basically being like from snake oil salesmen. You know, it was like it's a medical tincture. It'll give you the pep in your step, that kind of stuff. As opposed to Pepsi, which has the look of being industrial runoff. It doesn't taste like it. Not that I know what industrial runoff would taste like in the first place, but unfortunately, and the funny thing is unfortunately, I don't know of a good color to adequately represent Coca-Cola out of my paints. Because again, this is a simple paint job. It would just be one color. And I don't have one that I feel would be like the right caramel color that is, because there is a caramel coloring in Coca-Cola. So I opted for coal black, which is a slight blue to it. So it kind of looks like it does for runoff, so it's Pepsi. And then I have a yellow that I use, like a mid-tone yellow. Out of the 3 tones of yellow I have, that is, it's mid. Or I consider it mid. But anyways, that I use to represent beer. And, at a distance it kind of sells. Not the beer. It sells as a beer, not necessarily that it sells. You know what I mean. And so when I'm picking out colors for like hair, and I'll be doing this too for the beverages as well, I try to balance out the overall tones for them. I try not to go too dark or too bright, because I'm like, okay, these are going to be some brighter colors. Let me start toning this down with something dark and balance it out a little bit. Oh, this is too dark. Let me see if I can't lighten it up. Occasionally I get fairly monochromatic, and that's not necessarily a problem, because again, as long as it kind of helps get the right, as long as there's a good balance to it, it's not a problem. So this is the coal black I was mentioning. So these guys are pop drinkers. I am Midwest, so it is pop, or at least Michigan. So to me, it's pop. I know some places refer to it as soda, and that's okay. The one that is always very confusing to me is Coke. Referring to it as Coke is just extremely confusing to me. Alright, this one I actually have to do a little bit of shaking on, so pardon me. And I just realized I need to update my project journal. But since I'm going to be doing that after I get this, there's a chunk of paint in here. Clean the brush. Because I don't need paint where it was going. But yeah, so oh goodness, I've forgotten what I was talking about. But yeah, so well, okay. let me focus on the steps I'm doing right now. So next I'm doing, let me get some of that gray paint out that I mentioned. I don't work with it enough to know how much is too much or how much is too little to be working with in like how much of a space. So hopefully this will be enough. Hopefully I've got enough water in here thinned out so it'll have good coverage. Even if it doesn't, that's okay. You're trying to pay attention to more than just like what's there at their feet. I'm trying to integrate more craft paints into my hobby on the basis that A, they're cheap, B, you can get a lot of it, but also not everything needs to be done in expensive model paints. So specifically, like my models I'm probably going to still be using, the majority will be model paints of some sort. But for my terrain and everything, I could probably get away with more craft paints. Easy peasy, no problem. So something I need to decide upon soon, and then start promoting, is whether I'm going to be doing a craft hobby night on a Thursday night at the end of the month. I would like to do this because I would like to start doing that again, where it's join me in chat, join me in my Discord, join me wherever, or start streaming and then join me in a Discord call or whatever, or even just stream by yourself and be here in spirit. Doesn't matter, as long as the idea is everybody is doing some kind of crafting, whether you're here in person, whether you're doing it on your own channel, whatever. The hobby, the art, the craft, that's what matters. So man, do I feel like I'm taking forever doing work on these guys. Then again, I think that's because, again, I started on like the one that's gonna take a little bit more time to do. I've just been chatting and trying to think through. I'm not like zoning in and zoning you guys out. So, plus I did just start. I haven't kind of got the groove going fully yet. Now I got those ones taken care of. Let me get you in a new pot, or a new well. So I can try and cover up slight blemish here. Because that one's a little different than like, oh no, I didn't get the underarm, which I'm probably going to be doing in a moment to all of them, because that's just me. Plus, admittedly, it won't take me long. It's taking me like a few seconds per guy, if that. Because apparently my airbrush doesn't get everywhere like I'd like it to. I mean, admittedly, that's also how I got them, how I had them set up on the boards. Basically, what I would do is I'd sort of glue them to boards so I could break them off later. Yeah, I did not update here. The 5 I did the other day. Leviathan chassis. Alright. So now I'm officially 20 models in to this commission. And no, I try not to think about, like, I only have 460 more to go. I try and think about, like, okay, how many have I gotten done? And how is it looking in terms of, like, getting, like, a box filled with these guys? So my optimism of, like, I'm gonna be working on these guys and I'm gonna get them all done, you know, before too much and everything is a little misplaced. All right. So with the female models here, I do a little something different, specifically with their shoes, and that's because usually they're wearing like high heels. So rather than doing the dark brown, the raw umber, I typically go with the coal black. Now one of these females is different than the rest, specifically because if you look at them, these ones have their legs crossed, like crossed under. They're sitting on their foot, sitting on the leg, and I personally imagine this is the shoe they're taking off and they're kind of rubbing their foot. This one actually has like proper shoes on. They have a bottle of some sort that they're drinking from, so I just go with it's a Pepsi or a Coke. So, and I think the other difference is these ones are wearing glasses, these ones are not. And again, the glasses are going to just be very simple, like black streak right across the eyes, pretty much. So, so I'm going to be a little bit lazy with these ones, a little more just like, boom, they're done. In that I'm basically going to be selecting, with the exception of this one, because she actually has shorts on. So she is getting a color for the shorts. Actually, let's go with Jackbone, like a much lighter khaki. And then let's go with a more interesting pink top. Actually, no, let's go with Sanguine Highlight. It's kind of in the tone. Actually, no. Yeah. Go with that one. Let's go with the night. These ones I'm just going to go with, assuming it's just a full dress for now. As I go on, because there's a whole bunch of these ones I got to do still. But they're not all lined up to be done. So I'm not worried about that. But what I figure I could do is for now, I can just sort of go with like, it's one color. Later on, I can break it up as like they have a top and they have like a skirt. Because they do have a skirt. But at least I can sort of pretend with the way the folds are and everything that it's a evening dress. So it's like it's a one piece of some sort. Yeah, I'm getting a little quiet just because I'm focusing on stuff. I do have another terrain piece that I wouldn't mind trying to work on. Get it finished up and everything. And I'll do that. I'm actually, and so yeah, I'll maybe do some of that. If I got time, I'll do that a little over the weekend, make that ready. Do some work on the Wild Keep, of course. Keep making progress on that. Now, the reason why I shifted everything down and over there is because now I'm doing t-shirts, or like the dresses, and then it'll be the shirt for her. So rather than be like, okay, well, how am I doing this? Like, rather than like, okay, well, the paint still went on that one and I want the colors to mix, I just say put her to the end, so by the time I get to her, the paint should be dry. Especially since all of these models have much more area that need to be covered. And then as a result, it just takes longer. It takes longer, so it gives more. So that's more time to take, and that's more time for the other paint to dry. Depending on how thin I get it, because I got it a little too thin right now. Which, just thinking on it from a technical standpoint, is interesting. Because if the paint is thin, that means there's more water that needs to dry out, but there's also less paint that needs to dry. So it's like, where's like that tipping point where things are like out of hand? I guess maybe if it's like so diluted that it's basically just pigmented water, which is kind of what paint is in general, but you get my point, where like the viscosity of it and everything. Yeah, I'm putting the paints away as I'm working. And you could probably see, you might be able to see from here with how much I put in there. I put way too much gray paint out, but I'm not worried about it because let's just pull a first world card on it. I have so much of it right there. I'm not too worried about it. It was so cheap for me. Because again, it was only like $2 American at most for that big thing of paint. Comparatively speaking, big thing of paint. So tonight is date night for the wife and I, which just means a couple things. One, we try to figure out an activity for us to do together, rather than just like, let's just sit and just do our own thing. And the other thing is we like to usually go out, or like, eat. Not necessarily eat food that we are cooking ourselves, but like if it's food that we have delivered, we've done that plenty of times, especially during lockdowns. We've go out plenty of times. I hear her coming in. That's the reason why I started talking about this, because that'll be a discussion point. Not in a bad way, just facts in evidence. We're going to be talking about that to figure out, what sounds good and what are we going to do. So, then again, I get a little in my head about like focusing on where I'm at on this. But yeah, my original plan was I wanted to see how much I can get done before she got home, so we wouldn't be delayed on doing dinner. My ambitious goal was actually trying to have all 30 done before she got home. But obviously that didn't happen. And you know what? That's okay. I'll have time tonight to continue working on all these models. Plus, this is going to be 10 models done. That's quite a bit of progress right there. I'll have 20 more to do in order to get up to status quo, and then I'll be okay, because then I can relax a little bit and do my 15 for tomorrow. Tomorrow I can do my 15, and then again maintain status quo. Goal production of 75 models by the end of the week. And if I exceed that, then great. If not, I will manage. It's still very early on in the commission. Things aren't due until like the end of April. So time is an ally. Well, time is a resource. But it is a resource to which I currently have abundance. And if we're speaking bluntly about things, I think I mentioned it before. I know I've mentioned it like to friends before, but I'm of the mindset that time is easily one of the better resources to have at one's disposal. Why? Because with enough time, you can accomplish just about anything despite the lack of resources in somewhere else. Don't have enough money to buy the thing solution, you can work. If you've got time to work and do it to get the money you need, then you can do it. That's not an option. You can go for something cheaper. That's not an option. Or like you can, time is the ultimate wild card resource. So, all right. This is the coal black. And we'll switch over to the thinner brush. I need to figure out hair colors. So, do you want a gray? Let's go with you gray. Let's go with you that. Let's go with brown for you. Let's go with the dark brown. It's a trap. It is not a trap. No, it's not a trap. No, it's all good. No, I think it's just fine. Yeah, let's go with let's go with a lighter brown. Still a brown. There we go. See, again, the narrative in my head for these models, this particular sculpt, they have one shoe on and they got the other one off, kind of propped up. Oop, that's not what I meant to do. This, in fact, might be like a seat or cushion, like a cushion, or maybe their purse or something. But it's like there's like I haven't really been yelled at about them about any of this. How's my progress? So, not as far along as I'd like. That's what I was kind of talking about a moment ago. Because this will make 10 out of 30. And I wanted to, at least be halfway done, if I could. So, but I'm not sweating it. I'm not daunted by it. There was a lot of complications. There was a lot to talk about, too, today. Well, okay, maybe not necessarily a lot to talk about, but I managed to somehow talk a lot. So, plus I started very late, both in the day as well as just anything else. If I would plotted things out better, had I not napped for a couple hours, had I not slept for a couple hours, but I needed sleep, as one does. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and basically be like, I could have stayed awake the whole time when clearly my body needed rest. Because in another Discord, somebody was like sweating about like, I haven't really done anything, and I'm like, did you do anything yesterday or recently? And they're like, yeah, I did this, this, and this. Today is a rest day. Relax. We need rest. We as a species need to relax from time to time. It is actually incredibly unhealthy to be like constantly on the go and doing things. And it's something that has been hard for me to learn over time. But I have learned it. I am incorporating those lessons into my life so that I do not destroy myself physically or mentally. So, doop. Get her, I guess, Uggos or just honking boots. I don't know. Don't care. Not worried about it. Just find it funny. And then I'm going to switch over to the bigger brush because it'll be quicker and easier for the most part to do it this way. So when it comes to filling out bigger spaces, I tend to, I try to get like the peripheries taken care of, because that's where you got to be most careful on. You don't want paint to spill over too much in one way, or and have to clean it up, or anything like that. So with that being the case, what I then do is once I get that kind of figured out, I then can do the easy part, again, as is my way. And I fill in with a little more abandon and gusto where I need to. So these models were 3D printed by Slot Mods. I don't know if they do it commercially for anybody else or if they just do it strictly as an in-house thing. We've discussed in the past the option of, hey, if you ever want something 3D printed, just come to us and we'll see to it. And see that it gets done. Okay. Haven't yet taken them up on that offer. I will have to consider that in the future, though, because there's an occasional model I wouldn't mind like getting a copy of that I can basically like, okay, let's do get this printed. And there's a lot of notifications going off, so stuff's happening. Not necessarily bad stuff. Hopefully not bad stuff. There's enough of that going on in the world. We don't need that. Jeez, oh Pete's. I guess I got myself starting to get myself into the right groove of things. All right. Because I know dinner awaits, and we still have a discussion to figure out where and everything like that, and then plan out that. So I need to get dressed. And none of this is complaining. These are facts. These are meant to be strictly facts. Again, I'm just very cognizant of how I physically sound. But, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up these 5. So I'll have an even 20 to try and fart around with later. And yes, I'm getting hyper-focused on where I'm at on that. And that's only just because the glasses, they tend to, like, I feel like I gotta be a little more careful with them than I do with other stuff, only on the basis that it's like, what's wrong with your face? Alright. So we are 25 models in this commission. And one of these days I really should figure out how to have some kind of counter set up on stream, especially for something like this where I'm like, okay, this is how many I've got of these guys done. People can add to that if they wanted to, or I can be like add. Either way, so those 5 taken care of. Next 5 would be these business folk, where all they got really is just again, I would kind of envision it as like a one-piece suit, but they do have like an undershirt, so that would be a different color. So I think I'll take a moment to select a few colors for them. This one over here, that's blood tracker brown. So, yeah, let's go with that. Definitely some darker colors, which will offset with just one simple white highlight for the shirts. And get the next batch up over here. And I was like, why do I have so many extra models? Why do I have an extra set of models over there? and I realized, oh right, because I had only 5 miles remaining after I grabbed off these 15 on that board, so I sawed it. Let me just pull them off. Alright. Oh. Again, pardon me. It is basically dinner time. So I think we're gonna forego my normal rating for today. And instead, we're gonna go let the credits run for a minute. Thank you again, one and all, for joining me today in the mech shop. I appreciate you coming in, stopping by, chatting if you did, renewing your subs, moderating where you could, and yeah. Meanwhile, everyone, take care of yourselves, take care of one another. We're all in this together. See you out there. Bye-bye for now.